There's a version of this story you already know. The genius, the rocket man, the richest person on Earth, the guy who bought Twitter just to rename it and fire half the staff on a Tuesday. That version is boring. The real story of Elon Musk isn't about success. It's about a man who built two companies simultaneously and watched both of them nearly die on the same weekend. That's where we start. December 2008. Christmas is 3 weeks away. Elon Musk is sitting in an office in Los Angeles. He has just given his last personal dollar, reportedly around $35 million, to keep Tesla alive. SpaceX has failed 3 consecutive rocket launches. The 4th launch window is the only one left. There is no money for a 5th. His marriage is collapsing. His friends think he's delusional. The press has already started writing the obituaries for the companies, and quietly, for his reputation. At this point, most people would have called it a career. He had already made $180 million from PayPal. He could have bought a mansion, invested in index funds, and spent the next 40 years being comfortably rich. He chose to burn it all instead. And the question nobody asks, a question that actually matters, is, why did he do that? What kind of mind looks at total financial ruin and says not yet? That's the secret they never put in the Forbes profile. Elon Musk was born in Pretoria, South Africa in 1971. His father was an engineer. His mother was a model and dietitian. On paper it sounds stable. It wasn't. By age 10, Elon was the kid who got beat up at school. Not occasionally, regularly, brutally. There's one story where a group of boys threw him down a flight of concrete stairs and beat him until he lost consciousness. He spent a week in the hospital. He didn't make friends as he was obsessive, literal, and had a habit of correcting people, including teachers, when they were wrong. In South Africa in the 1970s, that was not a personality that won popularity contests. So he retreated into books. By 12, he had taught himself to code. He sold his first video game, a space shooter called Blastar, to a computer magazine for $500. He was 12 years old. Read that again, 12, not because he was a prodigy, but because he had nowhere else to go. Books and code were the only places where being obsessively precise was an asset, not a liability. That is the first trick, not intelligence, refuge. The thing Musk was running away from shaped exactly what he ran toward. At 17, he made a decision that most people in his position never make. He left South Africa in the late 1980s, had mandatory military service. Elon Musk looked at the apartheid government, looked at the conscription notice coming his way, and decided he would rather be broke in Canada than armed and compliant in Pretoria. He arrived in Canada at 18 with almost nothing. He worked on a farm. He cleaned boilers at a lumber mill, the kind of job where you crawl inside industrial machinery at 4 in the morning to scrape out toxic residue. He ate hot dogs and oranges to save money. He wasn't building a brand. He was surviving. This matters more than any MBA case study ever will. Because Musk learned in his body, not in a classroom, that discomfort was not the end of something. It was just a condition, a temporary one. He transferred to the University of Pennsylvania, then to Stanford for a PhD in energy physics. He lasted 2 days. He dropped out to start a company. The company was called Zip2. It was 1995. The internet was a novelty. Elon and his brother Kimball rented a small office in Palo Alto and slept there on the floor because they couldn't afford both an office and an apartment. The idea was simple. Help newspapers put their city guides online. Yellow pages for the web. Nobody wanted to buy it. They cold called newspapers for months. Elon coded through the night, every night, eating at the cheapest places he could find, showering at the YMCA. 4 years later, Compaq acquired Zip2 for $307 million. Elon Musk's cut $22 million. He was 27 years old. Most people would have stopped there. He was already in the top fraction of a percent of humans who had ever lived. He immediately started another company, XCOM, a bank, on the internet. In 1999, when most people were still nervous about entering their credit card number into a web form, XCOM eventually merged with a company called Confinity, whose main product was a small feature called PayPal. What happened next is the part the Silicon Valley mythology always softens. The board of XCOM fired Elon Musk as CEO while he was on his honeymoon. The investors thought he was too aggressive, too unconventional, too unwilling to do things the safe way. They replaced him with someone more professional. He still owned stock. When eBay acquired PayPal in 2002 for $1.5 billion, Musk walked away with $180 million. He had been fired from the company he founded, and he still made $180 million. Most people would have taken that as a sign, a very clear, very loud sign that said, "You are not a CEO, you are an idea guy. Let other people run the companies." He ignored the sign completely. Here is the moment most people skip over because it doesn't fit the hero narrative. After PayPal, Elon Musk flew to Russia 3 times. He wanted to buy refurbished ICBMs to launch a greenhouse to Mars, a publicity stunt to reignite public interest in space exploration. The Russians laughed at him. Literally, they thought he was a tourist who had watched too many movies. On the flight back from the third trip, Musk pulled out a spreadsheet on his laptop. He had been calculating the cost of rocket components, raw materials, engineering tolerances. He turned to his friend and said, "I think we can build a rocket ourselves for a fraction of what the Russians are charging." That spreadsheet became SpaceX. This is the second trick, and it's the one that separates Musk from almost every other entrepreneur of his generation. He doesn't ask how much does it cost. He asks what is the theoretical minimum it could cost if we started from physics, not from industry convention. First principles thinking. Not what does everyone else do, but what does the math actually say. To apply it ruthlessly, it becomes a weapon. Most people watching this will never make the bet Elon Musk made in 2006. Not because they lack the vision, but because they never learned to separate their financial survival from their financial ambition. Musk put his entire PayPal fortune into companies that were bleeding cash, with no guarantee of return. This is the part that changes how you think about money. The game was never about working harder, it was about understanding the system and building leverage inside it. That's what the financial restart system teaches, not how to grind more. How to build the foundation that works while you sleep. The difference between Elon and everyone else wasn't effort, it was structure. Get the book link in the description, and if you want to go deeper, check the pinned comment below. Back to December 2008. SpaceX has failed 3 launches. The Falcon 1 rocket, the one that was supposed to prove commercial spaceflight was viable, has exploded on the pad, tumbled into the ocean, and broken apart in the upper atmosphere. Each failure cost tens of millions of dollars. Tesla is hemorrhaging cash. The Roadster is 2 years behind schedule. Suppliers are threatening to pull out. The financial crisis has frozen credit markets globally. Musk is personally broke. Not I had to cut back on vacations broke. He is borrowing money from friends to pay his rent. He gives a press conference. Someone asks if he's okay. He starts crying. Not performed tears, real ones, on camera. And then he goes back to work. The 4th Falcon 1 launch happens on September 28, 2008. It is the first privately developed liquid-fueled rocket in history to reach orbit. 3 months later, Tesla closes a funding round that saves the company. Musk later said that both companies came within weeks of total collapse simultaneously. If either one had failed, the other probably would have too. He survived by refusing to choose. This is the third trick, the one nobody talks about in the productivity podcasts. Musk doesn't manage risk by reducing exposure. He manages it by increasing capability. Everyone else asks, what's the safe amount to bet? Musk asks, how fast can I make the thing better, so the bet becomes obvious. It's why he moved Tesla's manufacturing in-house when every industry consultant told him to outsource. It's why SpaceX builds its own engines, its own software, its own launch pads. Vertical integration isn't just cost efficiency, it's control. And control is the only real risk management. When you own every part of the system, you can fix any part of the system. Between 2010 and 2023, the list of what Musk built reads like someone trying to cover all the items on a civilization problems checklist. Electric vehicles at scale, reusable orbital rockets, global satellite internet, brain-computer interfaces, high-speed tunnel transit, solar energy and battery storage. Some of these are still experiments. Some of them have already changed industries permanently. SpaceX became the first private company to dock with the International Space Station. It is now the primary launch vehicle for NASA human space. The Falcon 9 booster has landed, returned from orbit and landed vertically over 200 times. That was considered physically impossible by most aerospace engineers when Musk started. He made it routine. The 4th trick, and possibly the most uncomfortable one. Musk operates on a timeline that most people find either inspiring or insane, depending on where they're standing. He sets deadlines that are almost always wrong, ludicrously provably wrong. He said Tesla would have full self-driving by 2017. He said Starship would reach orbit by 2020. He said the Cybertruck would ship in 2021. None of those things happened on schedule. But here's what did happen. The teams working toward those dates built things that wouldn't have existed otherwise. The deadline wasn't a prediction, it was a forcing function. When you tell engineers they have 18 months to do something that should take 5 years, some of them quit, but the ones who stay start asking different questions. They cut corners that were never actually looked. They eliminate processes that existed only because someone inherited them from a previous project. Aggressive timelines are a filter. They keep the people who are more afraid of being bored than being wrong. There's one more thing. After everything, the billions, the rockets, the electric cars, the satellites, the Twitter acquisition that the entire internet spent 6 months screaming about, Musk still sleeps at the factories sometimes, not for the optics, not for the press. He has been photographed asleep on the floor of the Tesla Gigafactory during production crunches. His assistants have confirmed it. The man who is worth more than the GDP of most countries still treats the problem in front of him as the only problem that exists. That's the thing you can't buy. The thing no amount of capital creates. The South African kid who got thrown down a flight of stairs, who slept on the floor of a Palo Alto startup, who cried in public at 43 years old because he thought he was going to lose everything. He never stopped being that kid. He just built the kid a rocket. The story of Elon Musk isn't about genius. It's about a specific kind of irrationality. The kind that looks at a system everyone else accepts and says, this is wrong and I am going to prove it. It costs everything, multiple times. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, it works.